What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fresh Podcast, where we bring everything fresh in entertainment. I am your host, Drew Brumfield, and joined with me today are my two close friends, one of them being Randy. Randy, how you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic.
Yes, and the other one, who I hope is doing just as fantastic, is Seth. Seth, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay despite this kind of like stale tasting coffee I'm drinking, but other than that, I'm fine.
Well, hopefully this podcast will brighten up your mood. Uh, and if you people are not sick of seeing everyone's Spotify raps getting posted around this time, I got good news for you because we're even more obnoxious. We made an entire podcast about basically our Spotify raps. Because this podcast, we were talking about the music that me, Randy, and Seth have been listening to over the past year. It might not even be new, but it's the music we've been enjoying for the past year. We don't do enough music podcasts, so this is a good way to kind of recap and of our tastes and things we've been enjoying. So, before we get started, as always, I want to shout out if you want some more shorter form content, go check out our TikTok page or our YouTube shorts or stuff. Some really fun stuff about that. Shout out to Seth for editing and writing a few of those as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. But without further ado, we'll just go ahead and get started. So this is kind of a bit more of a free-form thing, just talk about what we enjoy. But we'll going in from our favorite artists to our favorite albums to our number one song this year. So, my cousin, dear cousin Randy. I do know as I know the answer to this, but the good people don't know about this band. Tell us, who is your favorite artist this year?
All right, so technically, favorite artist, album, and song are all from the same person or group. But I'll cover a couple others, or else I'll just be rehashing. You say some people don't know, but if they're dedicated fans, they will know because we did do a podcast about them.
Exactly.
Is Sleep Token. I was part of that craze, still part of that craze. But yeah, I'd say they're my favorite artist for the year for sure, because I just got obsessed with them. Um, just listening to, I initially started out when they dropped a couple of their singles, like like Granite and Chokehold, and of course, The Summoning, which is their number one song, before they dropped the entire album. But, um, but yeah, I really like their spin on metal and whatnot. It gets a lot of, I think, new people that'd be like, "Ew, metal? Like that's just screamo music, right?" I think they're a really good entry point for people who would normally just shrug it off and be like I say, "You gross," because they implement a lot of like cool different elements, whether it be like jazz, R&B, um, even a little bit of like trap music in it, and so yeah, that's just they're my favorite artist for the
Yeah.
year.
No, I agree.
Cool.
I definitely want to I almost said I want to talk more about him, but you're right. We do have an entire
We do
podcast
have an
talking.
entire podcast
Yeah,
on
that
them.
one's the what I think it was the what I named that. It was the best indie band you're not listening to right now, or something like that. That podcast actually did pretty well on Spotify. But yeah, that they are. I'm really glad you introduced me to that band, Randy, because they have kind of cemented themselves into my like rock playlist. Especially like you said, songs like Granite, songs like The Summoning. A lot stands out, and I will say like I liked them before me and you went to Loud Life in Louisville, and then I was a bit nervous before seeing because I'm like, oh, are they going to be one of those bands that just aren't really good live or and like they don't really it doesn't work. But I was blown away. I thought they did phenomenal.
Oh yeah, they blew out that stage.
Yeah,
Like that
it,
stage was insanely packed. I know they scheduled these things super far in advance on who's on what stage for music festivals, but they totally could have been on one of the main stages
oh,
instead of
easily,
the secondary
easily. But
stage.
it
Easily, it
was
was
one of
so
those things where
packed.
like they didn't get big until too close to the concert. I'm amazed they got in at all. Um, but yeah, I guarantee you, especially if they keep making songs and albums like this, like next year, Loud Life, they're gonna be at the main stage. Like there's, I
Yeah, I
don't,
mean
yeah,
they haven't confirmed the tour dates or anything like that. But they have confirmed they're doing a 2024 US tour. So I wouldn't be surprised if they come back and are on a main stage, like I said, at some sort of festival like that. So
It, yeah,
hopefully they do, because Louder Than Life was awesome. I know we didn't do a podcast or anything about our experience there. It was awesome, despite me rolling my ankle on day 2. So
yeah. The day
it's a
before I
4-day
got
thing.
there, so yeah,
Yeah. So despite all that, it was amazing. And like I said, I think people should check out this band. I'm not going to harp on them too long because, like I said, we have a whole podcast on them. But if you're someone to be like, you metal, like give them a shot.
very much, yeah.
You might end up liking it and then find a whole new genre of music that
Yeah.
you kind of dismissed.
And if you need more convincing, listen to that episode of the podcast. Hopefully by the end of it you'll know what we're talking about. But like Randy said, we've talked about them before, so let's talk about something different. And who better to bring up something different than Seth? Seth.
Oh boy.
I don't
Put me
know
on the
much
spot
about
here.
your music tech. I don't honestly know much about your music taste now that we do this podcast. So who is one of your favorite artists?
One of my favorite artists. So I'm going to be basing a lot of my choices. I do not have a Spotify. I do not listen to my music on there. I have YouTube Music. So you guys get the Spotify Unwrapped. I get the YouTube Music recap, which is kind of cool. They do this weird thing where they like, I don't know if it's with AI. I assume it is, but basically they take a lot of the genres of music that you listen to and make your own album cover, which is kind of neat. I might share that with you guys.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I would probably say my favorite artist that I discovered this year is, of course, it was through Hi-Fi Rush, which whenever it came out earlier this year. A lot of times the music I discover is there's usually about 3 ways. I either hear it in a video game, I hear it in a movie or TV show, or I am going through a playlist on YouTube and I come across something that I really vibe with. And in this case, it was a video game. Obviously, we talked about it before. Hi-Fi Rush is one of, if not the best game to come out this year. And it's all focused on music, a lot of licensed tracks. My favorite band that I've discovered, and I still think I need to listen to more of their stuff, is the Joy Formidable. They are a Welsh alternative indie rock band. The best thing whenever I did some research into them, one review of one of their songs does the best job of describing how this band feels. Is it's a slow buildup of making you want to run up a really tall hill, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty accurate of like how their music feels. Their songs
Sounds
are
like
great.
would be like really dope for workout music.
Yeah.
Continue.
It definitely does feel that way. The song that really turned me onto it was the kind of penultimate track in Hi-Fi Rush, which is Whirring, which is a really awesome 2-minute 30-second lyrical song followed by 3 minutes of just aggressive, like just music playing. Like they are going all out on it, and it just builds and builds and builds. And what I found is listen to a lot of their other songs is a lot of it is not that different. The Greatest Light is the Greatest Shade is also another good example of like a song that does that. I've also started watching the Twilight movies this year. One of their songs is on that. One of their songs is on Breaking Dawn Part 1's ending track. It's called End Tapes, which is also not half bad. Honestly, Randy, I feel like a lot of your musical taste would vibe with the Twilight soundtrack.
I mean, Paramore did do a song for them. I don't remember which movie it was in, but
Eclipse. I think I know which one you're talking about.
But I mean, I do like Paramore too. They're not on my list of what I was going to bring up today. But hey, people, listen to Paramore.
Yeah.
I feel like we should keep an open mind. We should listen to a lot of different things. But yeah, I want to say not much I can add to it. All I can say is I really need to listen to more of their stuff. Whirring was a single that they released, and it also was part of their 2011 Big Roar album that I really need to take the time to listen to the whole thing. It's just one of those things where I feel emotionally exhausted after listening to any of their songs is how it feels with the Joy Formidable. That's why I've listened to so little. I just listened to one. I'm like, Jesus, dude, that took a lot out of me. It made me think about things. So yeah, I would probably say my favorite new artist I discovered this year is the Joy Formidable. Please give them a listen. They're fantastic, a lot of fun.
I'll have to give them a listen because a lot of the music I really like, and a lot of the times when I fall in love with a song is like back when I was in high school and I would run, I would have music playing, and you get probably because you're dying on like 12-mile runs. You get very emotional, especially when emotional songs are playing. So I definitely know that feeling you're talking about of like a song that's like building up as you're like going up a hill, and you're just like, oh, there's heaven at the top of this thing, and by heaven I mean a downward slope. Um,
Yeah,
so that's
I
a
will say,
yeah, I know that feeling.
just to add on to your point, like yeah, like with the workout music, "Whirring" definitely became the song I went to whenever I'm in like the last stretch of like my run, and I'm just kind of like, this is the song I'm going to put on because it's the one that's going to carry me all the way through it.
This is the one like
So
this is the one. If at any point we had to don medieval armor in battle, this would be the background music. Yeah,
yeah,
just gotta keep that
so yeah,
playlist in
right.
case.
Oh
No,
yeah,
that's perfect. No, that's great. I need to definitely. I know the band obviously because I played the game and I know a few of their songs. I have not listened to a lot of them. I'm not as familiar as I probably should be with that band, so I'll definitely have to give them more of a listen to. Uh, as for me, my artist of the year, I do have they weren't like my number one on my Spotify rap, but my number one really hasn't made music in a while. So I will kind of get the new band that I found this year. They're called the Happy Fits, and they are an indie rock band from New Jersey. They're a bit of a younger band. They haven't been around for as long. A bit of, well, I guess, okay, they've been around since 2016. They haven't been good for a while. I'll say it that way. About 2018, 2020 is when they started hitting their stride. But I really like this band. It's a lot of like, it's a bit more like, it's not pop music, but it's a bit more like fun rock, I guess is how I described it. I mean, it's indie. Uh, but they have a lot of good songs. She Wants Me, All Right, Cool, Whatever. Heart of a Dancer is probably the song that got me to actually really like, hold on a sec. These guys are sick. Um, and it kind of is just one of those things where I was just had my playlist on shuffle on Spotify, and it went to like, these bands are similar to what you already listened to, so just kind of random things. And I was just in the car. I was like, hold on a minute. Like I had to turn the radio off. I was like, wait a minute, this song slaps. What? Hold on. And I'd like back it up. Like, no, like play this one again. And yeah, it was Heart of a Dancer. It was a really like fun like rock band. So I was like, let me look up these guys more, and I just kept listening to more and more, and I was like, these guys are good. Uh, so yeah, I know they're not as well known, but I think they're really good and really easy band to get into and kind of listen to, especially in the background. Their probably best album is um, Concentrate, and that is the one with like Heart of a Dancer. All right, so all right, cool, whatever is the name of the song. Uh, so yeah,
I was gonna say I've just listened to the first like 30 seconds of the song, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll keep this pulled up. I'll
I'm,
come back to this after the podcast.
I'm gonna save these guys for later. Yeah, no, definitely listen out. Another good one from that album is Mary. I'm just kind of pulling up the playlist now. Um, and yeah, a lot of people, they were kind of the band I listened to a lot during like summertime. Um, but I think they're a very good like fall band. If that makes sense. I don't know if people are like me and associate bands and music with seasons, but they're good for that. So
No, I definitely I got that in certain bits for sure.
okay, that's good to hear. So yeah, gotta check them out. I like finding like younger, a bit unknown bands. At one point, I know they were here in Nashville, but I wasn't able to get to see them. But hopefully, with them being a new band, maybe they'll open for someone, or maybe they'll grow to stardom later, and I can and have more tour dates. So hopefully, I can see them live in the future. But yeah, that is my artist. And moving forward, more than likely this will probably be a shorter podcast. I should have said that earlier. Moving forward, now we will go to our favorite albums. So I started with Randy last time, and so now I'm gonna put Seth on the spot again. Seth,
Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah, got to keep you on your toes. Can't just be playing games in the
Hmm.
background anymore. Uh, what was kind of like that album that just had everything for you this year? That was one of the ones where you're like, I need to listen to this artist, but specifically this artist from this time period.
So this is an interesting one because I'm going off based off of like my YouTube music recap of like
Mm-hmm.
the album I listened to the most year, and it turned out that apparently I went on a bit of a rediscovery with myself. I listened
Okay.
to an album I hadn't listened to since honestly middle school. Uh, it is "Ghosts That Linger" by Trucadero. If the name sounds familiar, which it probably doesn't, they Trucadero was a band who did a lot of the music in partnership with Rooster Teeth for Red versus Blue a long
Oh.
time ago. They did a lot of their stuff, like the opening, like kind of Blood Gulch blues riff that you hear at the
Hmm.
start of their episodes. A lot of the different like kind of vocal songs that they would play every now and then during the more like story heavy episodes. That was them most of the time. It's because they're a little in. Basically it was just like group of friends know each other type deal. They're in Austin, Texas. Trocadero, the best way I could describe them is they are alternative indie rock. Um, I don't know if I would want to say they're necessarily the best band ever, or like the best music, but what I appreciate is that they do bring a lot of creativity to their songs. There's things where they try to go for different vibes, like on Ghosts That Linger, they have a song called Goldmine Blues, which feels more like a country kind of like blues style ballad that they have going on with that song. They have other like more amped up, like kind of like dramatic rock songs like Good Fight, Colors. Some of the songs they like to dip into Japanese, like in Colors, where they just start suddenly singing lyrics in that, and then others like Alien Champion, where they also start singing in French. They really like to switch up the languages for some reason. Um, they're very experimental is how I feel like once you actually listen to their album. And although I've kind of fallen off of like Red versus Blue, um I've just kind of grown up, I've just kind of stopped paying attention to them.
Yeah.
Even though Red versus Blue doesn't really mean much to me anymore, I think the music does with Trucadero, just because they were a big part of like my formative years listening to that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I just vibe with them really well. I really like Ghosts That Linger a lot as an album. Like I said, I wouldn't say it's the world's greatest album. I wouldn't say it's one of like my all-time favorites, but I think it has a special place in my heart just because it was something I listened to a lot growing up. So, yeah. That's my album.
Interesting. So I've definitely like obviously me us growing up around the same time. I also watched Red versus Blue, and I remember like always liking the music. So I've definitely listened to these songs before, but I've never really had a name or an album to put them to like attach it to. So wow, that's interesting. I didn't even so the,
Yeah, I
and I'm assuming. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming, do they still make the music for Red versus Blue now, or do they kind of do their own thing, or do you know?
I think they kind of do their own thing. Like it's kind of weird, and I don't really know all the details with it. But I know with like Rooster Teeth itself has, I think, and don't if I'm wrong on this, but anyone can feel free to correct me. But unfortunately, I feel like that studio has kind of been going a little bit downwards. A lot of the um, main people have left that I knew growing up, like obviously like Bernie Burns and Jeff Ramsey, kind of the big people behind Red versus Blue. I believe they've left. And I think whenever that started happening, the relationship between Rooster Teeth and Trocadero kind of started like kind of going down. I don't know if they released anything super new recently, but I do know they're still fairly active. One of the nice kind of wholesome things I noticed was I oh god, I can't remember his name all of a sudden, but Matt, one of the big people at Rooster Teeth, he obviously left there. Kind of helped actually put together like a short little 10-minute documentary about Trucadero for them and about like kind of where they started out as, which is like really fun. And I think it's really cool that he basically be like, hey, you guys were just basically been our friends for all these decades. I'm going to make this documentary about you guys, which is really sweet.
Super cool.
I need to check it out. Yeah. But one thing obviously they've kind of been in sort of the shadow of Red versus Blue and Rooster Teeth. I do know that they, at time when Rooster Teeth used to have its like conventions, and I reckon that they still do, they would play at it. I don't know if they still play at them anymore, but they're a fun band. I think the vibe I get from them is they have a nice sort of almost garage band aesthetic where it's not completely cleaned up. There's a couple of like errors here and there, but I think because of those errors, it makes them feel more authentic and fun to listen to. I do vibe with that a lot. Is like when you feel like you're just barely putting it together with your music and it doesn't have a lot of production value behind it. I think that's usually when I vibe with your music the most. So yeah, I like Trocadero quite a bit.
Seth, you just like activated something in my brain when you said garage rock, because I'm like, I'll talk about when I have like my pick, but I'm like, you just reminded me of a band though. I'm like, oh, I didn't listen to them at all this year, but they're amazing. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna get into them because I definitely need to get back to my roots and get back to listening to some good old garage rock. It's always nice.
I definitely think like that's kind of been nice this year. Is I don't have a specific album new that I listened to. The closest thing I can think of, and this is also not new because it's a 10th anniversary album, but I did listen to El Camino by the Black Keys, another group that I didn't really listen to much until after I played Hi-Fi Rush, even though I've definitely heard their songs everywhere. Like I've definitely have. Because Black Keys is, you think you haven't listened to them, but you definitely have. You've heard their songs. But yeah, like I think it's cool to like sometimes take a minute to find like the albums and songs that like were part of your formative years. It's kind of neat to like revisit those because it really does kind of highlight the different mental space that you were there. Like for me, it's like, where was I when I was in middle school or early high school? It's like, apparently I was really into this kind of stuff. So yeah, I imagine that's something that all of you have like
very much
probably gone through yourselves.
very much. I never had the look of a little emo boy. Randy had a few years. But I've always loved a good emo music, a good little rock and some garage rock is great. Yeah, gosh, if I continue with mine, are you good, or are you about to start talking about?
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm all good,
cool.
Man.
All right, so I'm almost kind of like, well, no, I guess I shouldn't because I didn't actually listen to them this year. Before I give my real one, I want to give a shout out to one of the greatest band names ever created, which was King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizards. They are amazing.
Interesting.
I was looking, they're very garage rock. They have a dedicated harmonica player. They're amazing. They're so
That's
fun.
amazing.
And they're very like garage rock and like headbang and hell yeah. They have one of my favorite concept albums ever created, which is Nagagon Infinity. They're also very creative with their names. And so the whole trick with Nagagon Infinity is it really is designed to be a physical album because the way it works is the end of every single song leads into the beginning of the next one. So the idea is the last note from the first song is the first note in the second song, and then so on, so forth. And then the very last song of the album connects back to the very first song. So the whole concept of the album is it can technically go on forever and could be played. You could start at any point and go through the entire album. So they're a very cool like concept band. God, I wish I listened to them more so I could talk more about them, because in looking them up, I realized they do have music that came out this year. An album that is called... Okay, I gotta read this. Pedro Draconic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night, and Annihilation of Planet Earth and the... Hold on a second, cut off. It's a very long
This sounds
title.
like
Okay,
one
Annihilation
of
of
Randy's
Planet...
campaigns.
An
Yeah.
annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of a merciless damnation. And the art for it is a giant lizard like staring down an oil factory. They're so cool. They're very much like, yeah, if you need some metal music for your D&D campaign, they're great. They're not my real pick though, because like I said, I didn't actually listen to them this year that much, even though I should have. But thanks for Seth for saying something that reminded me of them. The album I actually did listen to a lot, on top of, as Randy mentioned earlier, Take Me Back to Eden, which was the album that got me into Sleep Token, which we have a whole podcast on. But it's the album I listen to all the time, especially around, like, I have a thing on my birthday, or at least the month of June, I will always listen to my favorite albums, and one of those albums is from my favorite artist, which is Tell Me I'm Pretty by Cage the Elephant. And this album, I know a lot of people like, what's it called? Melatonia? Randy, help me.
Isn't it Melophobia?
Melophobia, that's what. Right, because the fear of music is what. Right. A lot of people like Melophobia, and Melophobia is really good. It's got Cigarette Daydreams. It's got a lot of really good songs on it.
It has Halo, which is I think my favorite song by them.
It does. Halo's really good. But I don't like. It has really good ones, but so does Tell Me I'm Pretty, and Tell Me I'm Pretty has ones like Mess Around, Cry Baby, Cold Cold Cold, and in my opinion, also like Punching Bag and Portuguese Knife Fight, but my favorite of the Cage the Elephant songs, and I almost put it as my number one song, but my favorite song from Cage the Elephant is Trouble. And I've always loved Trouble. It was so much so that at one point when I was trying to like learn guitar, I tried to play this song. Not well, I should point out. But this song it's just one of those where like you can't explain why, but it just like speaks to you at almost any point. At almost any point in my life when I have listened to it, it's very soothing, and it's very like I could just like relate to a different part of the song at some point. And it's a hard thing to describe without like going through it like lyric by lyric, which I'm not going to do. But there's a lot to it. I like the melody. It can work as good background. It works when you actually just sit down and listen to the lyrics. And it's always just been a very like close song to me. And this whole album is really just kind of my even though a lot of the songs are kind of sad, which I guess says a lot about me, it's just kind of always been my like I guess comfort album that I've always kind of held close and dear to my heart. So, and that's really what, even though like Cage the Elephant hasn't really made anything for a while, they're still always like, and there's a bit of controversy about the lead singer, but that's not for here. There's still kind of always like a band that's like near and dear to my heart, especially since like they're the two brothers are from Kentucky, who are in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where I went to college. They actually went to Western, fun fact. But they've always just been kind of a band that's been near and dear to my heart. I've seen them a lot. Well, I've seen them 3 times. I've seen them perform twice. I got to meet them, and I had like a CD signed. So like they are the one band I will like fanboy for. And I'm proud. I'm a proud stand. Not about the lead singer. Again, there's some stuff about him, but about his music is amazing. So yeah, that's Tell Me I'm Pretty is my thing. Again, Melophobia is a great album. It's fantastic, but for me, Tell Me I'm Pretty just has so many other like standout moments for me. All right, Randy.
All right, so technically, like I said, I discovered him in 2023, so it would be Take Me Back to Eden, but we already had a whole podcast on it. I'm not going to do Sleep Token again, so I'm going to actually do my number 2 artist and album, which is The Midnight Demon Club by Highly Suspect. So I discovered Highly Suspect probably around 2017, 2018 with their song "Human," which was really like that's a lot of people's big entry point into them. Um, it's a very good song, but it's not off the Midnight Demon Club. The Midnight Demon Club album came out in September 2022, and it had really good songs in my opinion, like New California. I really enjoy the title track, Midnight Demon Club. Um, also, Caught on Fire is just really good. I connected with a lot. I think I brought them up, I think, at one point during a fresh pick, I think early on in this podcast. Um, because I think this song came out, and I really connected with it because it goes to the point of where it's like a will they, won't they? You're messing around with someone who you used to have like an actual serious relationship with. Um, been there, done that. So that I don't know. It just connected with me on that level.
Yeah.
Um, and I have seen them live twice now. I saw them in Nashville, seeing the Midnight Demon Club album. They were super dope. And I think that's the only concert I've actually cried at. I guess to be fair though, I did cry. I didn't cry during one of the songs that I cried to a song that wasn't on this album, but nonetheless, it's still a really good album. I remember Will and I were just jamming through it so much when it came out. Um, I guess I didn't mention their genre, alternative rock. Um, and they
I
kind of
think
changed.
I've seen a theme here with a lot of our stuff.
We're all just angry and sad boys. But but yeah, I mean, this album has a lot of good hits on it. It also has "Love Like This" and "Need to Say." "Need to Say" is a bit of a slower song, but it's just kind of, well, hence by the name, things you got to get off your chest, maybe to someone to where you're like, I love you, but like, I need to tell you this because either it's hurting me in a way that maybe you're not seeing, blah 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 blah, that sort of stuff. But it's a really good album. I've seen them twice live. I'd really love to see them again. They're still touring with this album, but they're on West Coast, and well, I'm on the East Coast, so that's not happening anytime soon. But oh, and also Pink Lullaby is also on this album. Um, it's just, I don't know. It feels like there's just a lot of bangers on this. Like I'm just going down the sound. That's also dope. Um, the first time I saw him live, it was actually in a smaller venue. It was in 2019, right before the world ended. And I saw
In the before times.
there were two in the before time. They were touring their album MCID, which is kind of what they call their group. It's My Crew is Dope, is MCID.
That's a fun.
That's a
That's
good.
fun.
That's good. I like that one.
And that one has some really good ones as well. Like I said, I guess I'm kind of going back to artists because I'm sharing multiple albums.
No, you're
But,
good. You're good.
But yeah, they really kind of, I feel, experimented in this one because mostly it's been just alternative rock, with maybe some slower songs. And then in MCID they kind of branched out, and then there's even some branching out in Midnight Demon Club, but I think maybe they swing back a little towards alternative rock. But like this one, they ended up with some like rap and stuff in it with things like Tokyo Ghoul. They ended up with where is it? Silk Road, and God, one of my favorite songs off this album is These Days, and then also it's said as Teddy Bear, but it's at TDDBY, then Bear.
Yeah. This album seems like it's one of those things where, like, when you think of, at least for me, when you think of Sleep Token, like, okay, what are like some of my favorite songs? Well, it's from this album. Actually, the other song is also from that album, and you just keep going down less. Like, okay, no, like almost everything I like about this band is from this album. And that's not.
Yeah,
to say,
it's
like,
not exclusively that. I mean,
Yeah.
they have a bunch of like I really like all of their albums. Like, well, here, let me blow this one up. Oh no, this has my favorite song. The song that I fucking cried at to is in "The Boy That Died Wolf." Um, it has well, it also has "My Name Is Human," which is like their biggest song up until Midnight Demon Club came out. So
You're not
I don't know.
making a strong
Hey, in
case.
general, go check out Highly Suspect. I like
Yes.
them. This is just enough. This is me repitching the Fresh Pick all over again. Go check them out.
Yeah. Specifically, Midnight Demon Club.
Specifically the Midnight Demon Club. But if you're like, hey, I like this, check out the rest of their stuff. It's all good.
Yeah. But I think Midnight Demon Club's a very good like entry point. It's just like this is what this band sounds like.
Yeah.
And this is like some of their really good stuff. So, no, I agree. I know the album as well, and I think the album's. I agree with you. It's probably one of, if not their best album.
Also, the art is just dope. It's like
I see it. Oh,
I have a shirt from their tour, and like just like a lot of the art they did is really cool.
Yeah. That's. Yeah, I didn't even start getting into album. I guess none of my bands have at least none of the ones I've picked so far have the greatest of album covers, except for King Gizzard the Lizard Wizard, which I know doesn't really count, but still, those guys. You want to see some dope artwork? Those guys. But yeah, is that everything for Midnight Demon Club, Randy?
That is just people go check them out. Like I said, they're touring on the West Coast, so maybe I think they're in California. I think mostly. So if you're in California, check them out.
Be amazed if you're listening to us from California, but we love you over there. Anyway, so in terms of songs, and I will go first. So I had a couple options for this. One of them was actually Trouble, which I've already talked about though, and I have two. I'm gonna pick one mainly because I'm pretty sure the other one could be like Seth's favorite. Because he is one of the only other songs he's talked to me about. But I'll start with this first one. And it is from a not so little known band called The Struts. And it is from their probably most popular album, Everybody Wants. And it is the probably best song on the album. And arguably this is their most well-known song, period. Like, this is what you know this band from, is Could Have Been Me. And you want to talk about, like, my motivation song? The song that, like, I'm driving to work, I'm just like, I'm going to kill it today. Or, like, if, like, I need to be inspired and I need to, like, get my ass out of bed and, like, go edit something. Or it's just like, I need inspiration to edit a 2-hour-long Eliza P video. This is the song that gets me into it. And that's Could Have Been Me. This is such, like... The song itself is very much like, by the way, the Struts story, and they've talked about this of just like, this is really how they feel on a day-to-day basis, and it's very obvious when you look at the lyrics. Don't want to live as an untold story, rather go out in a blaze of glory. I can hear you, I live now because the bad die last, which yes is a reference, but it is very much a take the risk, do the thing, and the whole song is almost about them performing on stage, which I imagine is probably really meta if you actually hear it live. It's just about like, if you're going to fail, you might as well fail big and large and trying your best versus failing as something sad and never really even trying to live up to your dreams. And I want to live better days, never look back and say, it could have been me, it could have been me. Yeah. And this is always just that song that just like really gets me in my soul. I have to sing along every time. And I really recommend anyone that's like, if you need that little extra kick in the butt to just be like, no, go try to write a book, go start a podcast, who cares if it doesn't do well, go start a YouTube page, write a book, make that artwork, do what makes you happy, because even if you fail at it, you at least like tried and you win out trying. And that's just kind of what this song says to me. So The Struts are a really good band. I almost like glam rock, I guess is how, but it's very like uh, they're a British rock band. So, and they're very rock because that's what most of our things are. They're from Derby, United Kingdom. Um,
Mm.
and they have a lot of other really good songs. They recently had a new album this year. Another ones is like Kiss This, and I really like Body Talks, specifically Body Talks when they have a Kesha on with them. It's just
Oh, that's fun.
she just makes that song amazing.
That's fun.
Yeah, she makes that song great. So if you guys don't know about them, go listen to them. They're a great band, especially if you're like, I want to feel happy. I want to feel energized. And my other song, but I will let Seth talk about it if this happens to be his, is, Seth, was your pick Dog Days Are Over?
It is not, but I mean, like, I'll be happy to join in with you. But you could say your piece on it, and then I'll be happy to join in with mine because
Okay.
I do really like that song.
Yeah, I knew you love this song as well. In fact, I think both of us started listening to this song again because of the same reason, because of Guardians of the Galaxy. And yeah, this song for very similar reasons. Like if the Struts Could Have Been Me is like a good like start of your day song, this is a good like finish. Like you finally crossed the finish line once you did the hard thing. It works as your closer of just like, I made it through the day. I did the hard task. I freaking did the best I could, and it doesn't matter because we're over it now. Is that kind of song. And just like Florence and the Machine, as Seth will also testify, they're amazing and they're really good at making music. And they're the type of band where it is, even if you just read it, even without the amazing vocals or the amazing musical talent behind it, even if you just read the lyrics, it's just clear poetry coming through. And this is one of their most well-known songs, especially now after the most recent Guardians of the Galaxy movie, because they put at the end of that song, and it fits so well. Whatever your thoughts are on about Marvel or superhero movies, that song at the end of that movie, like, because it was the end for James Gunn and for a lot of people, was just, it just tugged at the heartstrings. It just made you feel something.
Yeah.
And I love that about that. So yeah. So what are your thoughts about this song? Because I know you're also a big fan.
Yeah, I think what you're kind of getting at is it's a very good. I hate using this term, but I'll use it anyways. It's a very good happy sad song where it feels like you have to come a long way to get to this point, but when you do, it does feel so relieving. I think it's just like you mentioned before, Florence's vocals and lyricism. She brings such like I like to coin it as fable/fairy tale magic to her like music. It just feels like you're being told like a whole ass story when you listen to her music.
Mm-hmm.
And Dog Days Are Over is definitely the epitome of that kind of music. While it may not be my personal favorite track, I do vibe the fuck with it, and it's surprising me. It's taken this long for me to find a movie that ends with this song, because it's kind of like the perfect like movie ender song, and it's weird that like it took till 2023 with the last bit of like the Guardians films to really do that. But yeah. Like I just love Florence. I love everything that she does and like all her music. Dog Days Are Over is like, I think it's a great song in itself, and I also think it's a great entry point for Florence. Like, it's perfect. Like, It's the song you definitely heard from her. You've definitely danced to it. Maybe you've also heard Kiss with the Fist as well. It's a great point to start with, and it allows you to open up into other things, like with like her Lungs album and like Cosmic Love and all this crazy shit. So I don't really have too much to add to it because you kind of covered everything there. Yeah. But yeah, I love Dog Days Are Over. Definitely like the highlight of Guardians. A little aside here, I know with like Marvel, it's been like a little hit or miss a lot, but I definitely think people shouldn't forget that Guardians 3 was a real hit this year.
Yeah.
especially with like its musical choices. So yeah.
I was about to say I haven't listened to much Florence and the Machine. I really should listen to more. Really, the only song I listen to is Hunger.
That's a good one.
But I mean, yeah, that was my entry point was Hunger, and then I just didn't move forward. But um, I should really go back and listen to more of their stuff.
If you liked Hunger, Randy, I really recommend Howl. It's also on their Lungs album. Very good song. I think
All
you'd
right,
fuck with it. It's
I'll
very
have
edgy.
to. Oh yay!
Edge.
But yeah,
Randy's
Oh
like, Drew's
boy.
talking about too many happy songs. Get this. I want to see
it,
someone in black makeup singing, or else I don't want it.
it's Florence telling a werewolf story through
Ooh,
her song, and it
that's
fucks
fun.
really hard. So yeah, listen to it.
I'll check it out.
No, definitely. Florence is amazing. And I'm glad we could talk more about her and specifically that song. But Seth, I mean that leaves this amazing big question in my mind. If it's not Dog Days Are Over, what is your favorite song? Do tell.
So I'm also going off of like my YouTube recap, my most played song this year, and I'm surprised it was this song. But it kind of makes sense when I think back on it. It is a video game soundtrack song. It is called Altars of Apostasy. It is from the soundtrack to Ultra Kill, which I've talked about a bit before on this podcast. Listen to me and Robert's indie game podcast, and I've talked a bit about Altars of Apostasy, but I'll talk about it a little bit here. So basically, Ultra Kill is a 3-act game. There are 2 acts out now. He's working on the final one. Hakita is, and the penultimate kind of like level that you play before the end of Act 2 is called Cry for the Weeper, and it is it's an extremely tough level. It has some of the toughest like encounters you'll encounter in the game. It is also the first time where in this game where you're going to hell that it properly feels like hell, because suddenly like all the color is drained out. It is just this oppressive red everywhere with spires coming out of the mist, and you are as this robot just rocketing through everything, and this soundtrack is like beating in the back of your head. I like how it sort of starts out as is like a machine sort of like grinding to start, like it's like, and it's like ramping up slowly, and then it kicks into, I don't know if you guys listen to breakcore, but breakcore is basically just it when you listen to it, it's basically just a lot of like what's the term, like drumming something to it. It's a lot of drums, like kind of like just kind of getting in your ear, but it's really good at like amping you up. I think the song is great because it's a very much like a pump you up type of song. It's Ultra Kill. A game like that is about pumping you up to do crazy shit. You're killing demons all over the place. But I think there's a tragic element to it. Well, it has like this driving theme of like ding 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 ding, something like that. Like there's like another movement in it where it's kind of pushing back, sort of, and it lends this like sort of tragic feel to the song where you know what you're doing is wrong, but at this point you've come so far that there's no stopping it anymore. Like everything has already been set in motion. The only thing that's left for you to do is carry out this act, which is basically the slow destruction of hell itself. And it's a beautiful and tragic song. And one of my favorite parts also is when it completely like drops out and then it kicks in, and I won't spoil what exactly it is, but it drops out towards the end of the song, and then it just goes absolutely hard into another track from much earlier in the game, that where like a certain boss fight might reprise itself in a new form here, and it just kicks in. It feels so good. It's hard to really describe this song and explain how impactful it is without you playing it yourself. But Altars of Apostasy is great. I think I did a little bit of like a little Googling into it. And apostasy is basically, or apostate is someone, or it's the act of rejecting your religion or rejecting your gods. So for me, this song is all about rejecting what you once held to be true and rejecting rejecting your gods, which is very appropriate for this game whenever you actually look into its story, because it's not really just talking about your own character, V1, this robot, but it's also talking about another character that you encountered in the game. But yeah, Altars of Apostasy. It goes super fucking hard, and it's another one of those kind of workout type songs. It's my favorite song of this year that I've listened to.
Interesting. Wow. I'll definitely have to check it out. Ultra Kill, you and Robert keep talking about it, and I need to do more. I've seen it. I've looked at it. I need to actually get my hands on because everything about this game seems like I would love it, especially and that goes for this song as well. It seems like it's really interesting just from your description and a quick little Google search of it.
Yeah, and I will say this much, it really is obviously it's only on PC, it's in early access, it's not finished. I do believe 2024 it will probably be finished once Act 3 comes out. We've been getting a little bit more updates from Akita on it. Very pumped up for it. The levels that he's been kind of showing these brief little snippets for look phenomenal. So I'm definitely looking forward to when he finally gets. You'll like this. Act 3 is called Godfist Suicide. So
it's like an ad lib. It's like an ad lib. Just they put a bunch of those are my favorite names for either artist or albums or songs when it seems like they just put a lot of cool words up on a dartboard and just picked them at random, just start throwing darts at them.
Yeah, honestly, that kind of vibes well with that's kind of Ultra Kill's general vibe is what's fucking cool that we can put here, and it does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a good chance that Ultra Kill will finish in 2024. Little side note, we probably won't get. I don't think we'll get the final Prime Sanctum, but we will get Act 3, thus finishing the game. And then he'll probably update with the Prime Sanctum later. But here's the thing, Drew. If Ultra Kill does finish in 2024, it's basically going to immediately skyrocket itself to my game of the year. And it's that's just crazy to me. I've never really been into the early access scene, but I hope whenever this game fully comes out, it will get enough attention to hopefully come to consoles so people can play on Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo Switch and all this stuff. So yeah, if you have a PC, and it doesn't really take a very intensive PC to run this thing, try out Ultra Kill. In general, it has a great soundtrack.
Interesting. All right, we'll have to give it a look. But that is almost everything except the big conclusion. Everyone's been waiting for this. Everyone's been building up anticipation for it. It is, what is Randy's most listened to song this year? Randy, please ease the people.
I'm pretty sure I spoiled it earlier.
You
but
did.
Who would have guessed?
Keep going.
Who would have guessed? It's Granite by Sleep Token, which is interesting considering I believe in our podcast I said Ascensionism is my favorite song by them.
So you lied.
I guess.
You just
it's either Ascensionism or The Apparition. I don't know. Something about it starts with an A. Anyway, but I'll try and not go over them again. But like I said earlier on, they add in elements of R&B and stuff like that, so where it can introduce people into it. So check out Take Me Back to Eden. I'll go with a song that I did really get into kind of recently. It still is a Sleep Token song, but it's not off the Take Me Back to Eden album. Mm-hmm. It would be Atlantic. It's off of This Place Will Become Your Tomb, which is their 2021 album. And it's kind of this slower, sad song. It's not there isn't really any traditional, well, I won't say there aren't any, but it doesn't sound like a metal song at all. It's a slower, sad song, and I really vibed with it. I think Will turned me on to it actually, and I just started listening to it over and over and over again. Um, but like one of my favorite things is okay, well, I'll just go ahead and hit the nail on the head of like what the song is about.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
is so basically the song is about either like waking up from a suicide attempt in essence. And I really liked one of the verbiages that he uses, hence how it gets the name Atlantic. Is here, let me open up the song so I don't get this wrong.
Yeah, well, Randy opens up the lyrics. I will
You
also
can
say
fill,
that,
yeah,
like,
fill some time.
yeah, these, he did kind of pick also like my two favorite songs from Sleep Token as well. Who big shocker, but even when we recorded the earlier podcast, I was even like, Granite is the best song on the album. This song, it hits where it needs to hit. It goes from so slow to so fast, all in the same song, but it never feels like jarring or anything like that. It has a very mellow transition to it. And yeah, just, like we go into so much detail. So like as we keep saying, go back to that podcast, Granted, or at the very least listen to Granted itself, because that is like one of the
I
best
think it
Sleep
is their
Token
number
songs.
one song. If you go to
It
their
it might be.
actually, I don't know. I think Summoning is still above it.
It's one of those two because those were the two that were released before the full album. And then on top of that,
Yeah, and they
Atlantic.
blew up.
Yeah, those were the two songs that blew him up. And then Atlantic was the song that I think a lot of us kind of discovered after we had listened to Take Me Back to Eden, and we're like, okay, let's find out more about this. And Atlantic was the other like really big song. It's very obvious.
Are you thinking Atlantic or are you thinking Alkaline?
The one that you just said was it
Here,
not Atlantic?
let me go. No, it was Atlantic. Um, let me go over the section I was talking about just to make sure that you are thinking of the right thing. So basically, the thing that I kind of like, I don't know, I just really thought is well put is so flood me like Atlantic, bandage up the trenches, anything to get me to sleep. I woke up surrounded, ears like ears. I woke up surrounded, eyes like frozen planets, just orbiting the vacuum that I am. They talk me through the damage, consequence, and how they know it's a pain they don't understand. Just that entire like section, I just think is like really done well. And now looking at it kind of like this, I'm like, oh wow, this is very poetic.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
This is all songs are just who would have thunk it? This is all just poetry, but with guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no.
Although that is another like really good one is Alkaline by them. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Check out Sleep Token's other stuff. That's not the Take Me Back to Eden album. Yes, the Take Me Back to Eden album is amazing. I get it, people. But they also have really amazing stuff on their other albums.
I like how you say
So.
I get it, people. As even though we're the ones that keep bringing it up, it's me and you, Randy. We're the problem.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But for the listeners.
But the listeners, man. No, you're right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Atlantic was the one I was thinking of. It's a really good song. It's the other
Okay.
one I have on my my liked play. It's like the one, and not to say that like they Sleep Token does have good, but it is the one other song because I have a lot of their songs saved on my rock playlist, and then Atlantic's not on the rock playlist, but Atlantic's the only other one that's like only other Sleep Token song that I have saved. I talk for a living. Yeah, that sentence was hard. That sentence was a challenge mode. But yeah, great picks from Randy. And yeah, if everything.
Oh, and I guess I should tell people that because I mentioned that I cried during a song when I went to see Highly Suspect, and I didn't bring up the song. The song is called Serotonia by Highly Suspect. Go check it out. It's like struggling to deal with your inner self, whether you like. You kind of know that you're not maybe the perfect person, but you still like give all this love out to people, sort of situation.
Yeah.
And like you're not the perfect person. You're doing things. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, go check it out. That song, I remember listening to it live and singing along with them and jamming. I like had happy tears coming out of my eyes, and I was like, "Damn, that's like the first time that's happened."
Yeah.
So,
I guess last thing, because they weren't just for the sole reason, just because this is my only last point to talk about that concert of, even though they didn't make any of like the big list, loved the fact that I got to see Green Day live at that concert. That was wild. I was so
oh
close to
yeah,
them.
at Louder Than Life,
Yeah,
that was
Louder Than
dope.
Life. They were the very last band that played, and I like basically fought my way forward and got pushed down, and I got like, if I wanted to, I could throw something at Billy Joel. But it was, but I would
Not that you
never.
should.
Not,
but-
not that I would.
but
Not
yeah.
that I would, but I could have. But I have always been a huge Green Day fan since I was in high school. I even went dressed in the red tie, in the black collared shirt. Even though Randy and no one else I went with except Doster understood the outfit, but I saw some other people at the concert. They pointed out. They said I looked cool, and I found one other dude that was dressed like me. So actually, I guess there were technically two. Someone said their sister or their a sister met me, and they were like, "Oh, my brother's also has that same outfit on." But anyway, I'm rambling. Yeah, that concert was amazing. It was so much fun, and it was definitely worth the fact that even though when I came back, I was sick from it. I definitely got some kind of fever from somebody, but I guess that's what you get from when you crowd surf twice. Anyway, that is a lot of music, and that is a lot of favorite things. Before we get into our fresh picks, is there anything else that either of you guys want to wrap up, bring up a different topic you didn't say before? I think we kind of covered everything.
I'm good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good on that. I think I definitely do think I need to make more of an effort to probably try to branch out from, although I do like the indie rock and alternative scene, it's like, maybe I should listen to some more other genres than just this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, that's fair.
that is a lot of what I just listened to. Apparently, it's like, oh yeah, this is what I do. I do have like a couple of other genres. Like I do listen to like Alabama Shakes, which is more like a
Oh yeah,
like
they're
kind of
good.
a blues type
Yeah.
band, which
They're
is
good.
nice.
I like them too.
They were also part of like my sort of like, I guess, rediscovery tour of like my music.
Good choice. Good.
But yeah,
pick.
I think maybe as a New Year's resolution, if we do a fucking New Year's resolution fucking podcast, mine is listen to more different kinds of music.
I don't think we need to go that far.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right. But yeah, as we finish up all the podcast that we do, we will finish off this one with our fresh picks of the week. And this is what we have been playing, watching, or listening to when we're not out here recording this lovely podcast for y'all. As for me, I will go ahead and start, and this is the only game I've been playing for a good while, and Seth will be quite proud of me for this. But after Liza P, and especially now that I am editing this Liza P video, which should be coming out relatively soon, it's just long, I have finally gotten a second game on my PS5, and it's a PS4 game, and that is Bloodborne. So I am
Bloodborne.
continuing my Souls journey. My kind of journey is I'm gonna do this, and then eventually I'm gonna actually start Sekiro again, try to get through that, and then eventually make my way to the big one, which is Elden Ring. Or I might just after Bloodborne skip to Elden Ring. I don't know. Elden Ring looks cool. Anyway, but yeah, I've been playing through Bloodborne. Seth, for your reference, I have just beaten Bloodstarved Beast, Amelia, and those two hunters that jump you. And
There's a lot of jumping in that game.
dude. I don't know if it's just like because I only played one of these games before, but I swear people in Bloodborne are so aggressive. I'm just like, man, calm down. I don't have a block button, sir. And they will
Yeah, no, I
bum rush
think
you.
it's just like I think it's just accurate of England Simulator, where it's just like
Yeah.
people just like, oh, you got a license for stabbing there, and then they just come up and start stabbing the shit out of you.
Bro,
Um,
I didn't realize there were like 8 foot tall freaking zombie men in England. I'm gonna stay
yeah,
my ass here.
they might be big zombie men, but the one thing they do have in common with your average Londoner is they will stab you.
They will stab me. Um, but yeah,
Uh, but yeah, that's
Bloodborne's been
cool.
fun.
I'm glad that you're yeah, I'm glad you're vibing with it. I think it's of all the PlayStation like kind of exclusives, I think this is their best one, in my personal opinion. Uh I'm glad that you're getting to
Yeah.
experience it. Its only downfall really is just that like 30 frames per second deal. And honestly, when I get into it, it's not too hard to get used to, but it still hurts my
Yeah.
soul that like you're running on a PS5 and it's still only at 30 frames per
Yeah.
second.
I don't mind it too bad, especially because like I've always been a person where it's like if you're a consistent whatever, I'm fine. Like after
Yeah.
the first like 5-10 minutes, I'm like okay, whatever, who cares? If you, it's because
Yeah.
it's
You'll
a
get
consistent
to it.
30, and like honestly, I have it's been it's not really a complaint of mine for it, so I'm fine with that. I will say except for Gascoigne, every single time I get into a hunter fight, I have found some way to cheese it, which I guess isn't how you're supposed to do it. And apparently there is a way to cheese Gascoigne too. But yeah, so just as like a little side story, the I guess the first regular hunter is the guy that's shooting at you, and then some other dude tries to jump you. I got the guy like I'll just describe them by their weapons. The guy with the spear switch or the
Yeah.
stink. Yeah, that guy. I got him stuck in a corner and
The
just kind
soft spear, yeah.
yeah, I got him stuck in a corner and just kind of slapped him a million times. And then the guy that shoots at you from that really tall tower, I just shot him and made him fall off the tower, which I feel is more his fault than mine. If he's gonna fight me up there, I'm gonna use gravity. So I did that, and then
Exactly.
and then when I got jumped by the other two hunters, I just so happened to have, like, when you, like, summon another person, not a real player, but, like, summon, like, an NPC to help you. Shoutouts to, I think their name was, like, Herbert or whatever. That
Shout out to
person-
Herbert.
Yeah, shoutouts to Herbert. They did most of the
Big
work for
H.
that. Yo, Big H. I freaking love Big H because he spawned in, and they had the same, like, they had the same Kurt hammer as me, a sword that turns into a hammer. I'm like, yo, this guy's sick.
You're like, bro, twinsies? Oh my god.
Oh my god, twins. And then yeah, he definitely did most of the work in that fight. I'm not even gonna lie. I was getting my ass handed to me by that one bitch with a gun. Like the shotgun that she attaches to her spear too. Fuck that girl. She just keeps shooting me.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. The trick weapons are so crazy in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck me. Okay. So Drew, since you talked about like cheesing, I think cheese is a lot of fun in Bloodborne. I do appreciate that. Like and I feel like that's the way it is with FromSoft games. Is if you want to, yes, there's always like the legit way or whatever. But sometimes like a good bit of cheese is nice. And one thing I found with like that I like about Dark Souls is typically when there's a way to cheese an encounter or boss fight, even if it's a popular method, FromSoft is pretty good about never patching those out, because I feel, unless it's like egregiously easy to pull off, it feels like FromSoft is like, yeah, if the player finds it, let them have this.
Look,
Let them do this.
Look, I'm not gonna play fairly when a dude jumps me while I'm getting shot out by a turret. And I'm like, I have
Exactly.
a blunderbuss, my friend. This is not this kind of game. Why do you have a chain gun? Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
like you're sitting on top of a tower with a chain gun shooting me while I run through like a pack of
Yeah.
like werewolves. Like, this is not fair.
I'm
You
not-
know this is not fair.
we don't get to play fair, my friend. Nah. 2 bullets into gravity.
But I will say, I really hope this is the start of you. Like, I would first recommend actually beating Bloodborne in its DLC, which is actually not that long when you think about it compared to other games like it. It's probably take you like 30 hours, which is short with these types of games.
Oh, God.
But one thing I really recommend is Drew. There is a whole Bloodborne community around just cheesing the fuck out of this game. I really recommend a YouTuber named YMFAH. He does a lot of big meme kind of videos and a lot of like just ways they just break the game because it's actually funny. Like once you get into how much people know these games, there's all kinds of ways you can absolutely break them apart and have these really fun like meme runs. I remember I think he did for Bloodborne a One Punch Man build, and it was like, yeah, this is a fucking One Punch Man build, where he basically be like, I cannot progress unless I can kill this boss with one punch. So he did it.
It's so dumb.
Solid.
That's great. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I will say it has been. It probably will take me a minute to get through this game. Well, maybe not now anymore, but I do kind of have like the way I play it. I'll go explore, get lost, look up a playthrough on how and where do I have to go next, and then I'll stop right before they like actually go into the new area. Go there, explore, get lost, go back to the play. Like I just keep doing this because God, there's so many dark alleyways that look exactly like the last dark alleyway I just walked through. And I don't know if it's just because like I'm an idiot or this game is very gray. This game is very gray. But God, I get lost so much in this game. I think that's just me. I don't know. I'd freaking sacrifice one of you guys for a mini map though, or something. I guess that's part of the challenge.
Yeah.
Though, is getting lost. Anyway, I've talked a lot about my fresh pick, but I wanted to talk about Bloodborne. So I will go to Randy, because Randy, you were quite excited with your fresh pick. You were incredibly ready before we started this podcast with this fresh pick.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But then it all came to me in a rush.
Yeah.
So I'll do a little inside baseball for the people listening. 99% of the time, I do not have a fresh pick until right before the podcast.
Right before I'm like, Randy, do you remember a fresh pick? And you're like, no, because all I played is
shit,
Baldur's
no.
Gate. And you're just like,
I've been playing his Baldur's Gate. But
I
no.
told Randy he could just tell us his new build he's running in like Baldur's Gate, and we'd
yeah,
be
but
happy
Seth,
with
if we
it.
start this precedent, then that's all he's gonna do every week.
all
It's
I'm
just,
gonna do
it's just.
every
Well, I
week.
started a new Baldur's Gate playthrough. It's like you've been doing this for the past 4 podcasts already.
Randy's like, yeah, I just made this new like sword monk type character. It's really fucking cool. It's just like, Randy.
No, okay.
outside.
So my actual fresh pick, I have 2 because they're similar, but they're 20 years apart basically.
Okay.
Technically 19, but we'll say 20.
Yeah.
So I'll go chronologically. So the first one that I picked is this is one that I watched in my childhood. It's a movie and it's called Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Yes.
So
Oh man.
yeah. It's got a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes
And that's
and a
wrong.
64 on
That movie's amazing.
Metacritic.
That movie is
Exactly.
amazing.
That movie is so fucking funny.
That movie's great.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Google users, they have a 71%. So we'll go with
There you
Google.
There you go. The people.
But yeah, it's on HBO Max, so if people want to do that, or you can rent it for $3 whole on YouTube. I think it's worth your time. It's let's see, how long is it? It's like an hour 30. That's what it is. So like hour and a half of your time, and I assume like most people, at least I assume that we watched Looney Tunes as a kid. Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck,
Yeah.
all that.
The goats.
And so it was really fun because they had a bunch of like inside jokes for other Warner Brother properties, like their stuff with Batman and stuff, and Scooby-Doo. And it's just a really fun like action comedy, and it crosses over with Brendan Fraser, and he makes like self-aware jokes about because his character wants to be a stuntman, and he's like, I'm in those mummy movies more than Brendan Fraser, but no, he says, I do all my own stunts.
That's fun.
There's some fun like self-aware jokes and stuff like that. And it's all about just getting the MacGuffin called the Blue Monkey, and also it has like one of my favorite like over the top like evil villains because it's kind of a play a little bit on James Bond and stuff, kind of like how Austin Powers is as well.
Yeah.
So you know Austin Powers has Doctor Evil. We have just Mr. Chairman. That's literally his name, but it's played by Steve Martin. And oh my God, I lost my shit over his stuff so much. And I'd say the movie aged pretty well. I was a little worried. I was like, oh man, coming back to this 20 years later in 2023, is this movie going to be problematic? Surprisingly, no. I think there was like one joke that I was like, ugh. But everything else, like, it aged pretty well. And I thought it was really fun. So yeah, that was my first one. And so, who could guess what my next one's gonna be? It's a comedy action with animated characters from 2022.
Oh God, it's not what I'm thinking of, right?
Isn't what I'm.
Is it Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers? Cause that's what it is.
Okay.
Oh, nope.
I was
Nope.
thinking, like, I'm glad it wasn't at least Space Jam 2. Like that's what. I
Oh,
was,
Dude,
No.
that's where
where
my
thought
thought.
it
I was like,
going.
"There's no way Randy actually, unless he has a Rod pick." I was like, "There's no way
2021.
Randy." Okay.
No, I watched both of these like this past week, and I just because I watched Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I think when it came out in 2022 on Disney Plus. Back, yeah, it was like let's see, May. So it must have been like right before right when I graduated, I guess, or in that in between time before graduating and getting hired. And I remember sitting on my couch watching it and like losing it there. And like I watched it this past week, and I mean, there's so many really good jokes, and like it's kind of a similar thing. You end up with some spies and whatnot. This is more of like a, I guess, crime drama, but there's a little bit of spy stuff. Not as much as like Looney Tunes Back in Action. Looney Tunes Back in Action is direct like Hollywood self-inside jokes, jokes on actors, and like the spy thriller like series.
Mhm.
This one is less so. It's more of a investigation, which I think works for Rescue Rangers and whatnot. And they kind of do a fun thing to where one of them is like still in the classic like 2D animation style, and the other one is like upgrade or maybe he looks good. It's not an ugly Sonic situation.
Isn't he in this movie? Isn't Ugly Sonic in this?
Yes, Ugly Sonic is
Yeah,
also
that's
in
what
this
to
movie.
say. I
Yeah.
think I heard about that.
But yeah, there's also like jokes about being like turned into like, ooh, it's modern 3D animation and like you can see the fur and whatnot.
Oh Lord.
But it also has John Mulaney in it, which is really fun.
I love that, man.
As Chip, and then you have Andy Samberg as Dale. And
Really
like
good
there's
casting, honestly. Like that like
yeah.
that- if you want a comedic duo, that's the two you would go with.
That's a good. That's
Yeah, that's
good
a very
pair.
solid duo.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to check out two like animated action comedies that I thought were really fun to watch last week, and they're like 20 years apart, but I mean, I think both. I mean, obviously the animation and stuff on Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers is like insane, because it's a 2022 thing and is produced by Disney and whatnot. And then so you can check that out, or if you want to go the other route, check out something that's almost 20 years old. Or it is 20 years old. Check out Looney Tunes Back in Action. Both really fun comedies to watch.
Randy, I'm gonna do you one even better because I will also just because I want to throw in one of this weird subgenre of live action / animated detective / crime movies that apparently I just realized is a genre now. And I'm gonna give you one from even 20 years before the one you recommended, because this is the first one I did, and that's Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Because that's what all these
That's
movies
solid.
reminded me
Classic.
of. And I'm like, yeah, that's they all kind of have this similar vibe of just like tunes are real. Now let's put them in a murder mystery, and we're just like, it's weird that there's so
there's
many.
actually
Of these.
there's reference to Roger Rabbit in Rescue Rangers. So
Perfect, even better.
I definitely think Rescue Rangers was the one that kind of like that I mean not Rescue Rangers, I'm sorry. Right, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the person who, I guess if you want to call this a genre, that was the one that kind of started it. Is that movie. That's fun. I think a lot of those kinds of films are just, you know, they're fun. They're crazy. They're a crazy fun time. Obviously, I think Roger Rabbit is probably the best one out of all of them. But like, it's you know, it's nice to hear about all the fun stuff Randy got out of especially Chip and Dale, especially since I've heard some divisive things about that one.
nah, it's fun.
All right. Well, last and very certainly not least. Hope you never think of that, Seth. Hope you never find yourself as the least. But the last is your fresh pick. What would that be, Seth?
My fresh pick is Godzilla -1. I'm not going to even try to play around with this shit.
Now, before you talk,
might be,
me and Randy have not seen it, but are planning to see it in the future.
I'm not gonna. Yeah,
So-
no,
We're
I
gonna
do not
see
plan
it
this.
in like 2 weeks.
Yes, I hope it's still playing by then.
will,
Especially
I think
since, you know. Yeah, I know it's kind of weird with like these kinds of like overseas releases. This definitely is not being. It definitely seems like that this film is actually doing pretty well in U.S. Theaters right now. So as long as it's making money there, theaters will continue to show it. And I highly, highly recommend that if you get the chance, you guys need to go check Godzilla -1 as soon as you can. I'm not going to spoil anything on it. I will touch on a couple of stuff, but like it's not really like plot spoilers. This is I'm still thinking about it, where I would rate this film, but it is easily a top 5 Godzilla film. It is not just a good monster film, it is just a great film in general. Obviously Godzilla here is fantastic. I like how this film is, we're seeing this number getting tossed around a lot. I like how this film had a $15 million budget, yet it managed to make Godzilla in all of his scenes and in general just the set design just look phenomenal in this film. There's some stiffness, admittedly, to some of Godzilla's animations, but I will say that kind of adds to the charm of the film, just because it does kind of remind you that, oh yeah, the original Godzilla and a lot of the Godzilla stuff from Toho is a dude in a suit moving around. So a little bit of that awkward jerkiness kind of helps add to it. But this film is phenomenal. Premise of the film is it is basically a reboot retelling of the original 1954 Godzilla film, where way back then, kids, Godzilla was not like the hero or / anti-hero kind of like defender of the earth. Back then, he was a analogy for nuclear weaponry, and his destructive prowess was horrendous back then. And this film is not shying away from that. And my God, this is definitely the most, well, I wouldn't say it's the most horrifying Godzilla. That goes to Shin Godzilla in 2016. While it's not the most horrifying Godzilla, this is definitely the most vicious and brutal Godzilla I think I've ever seen on screen. There is such a nice sense of, much like the original film, terror and horror, especially since this film is set against the backdrop of, unlike the original, the immediate aftermath of World War II, where Japan is already struggling to pick up the pieces after the atomic bombings, after losing the war. And there's a general disillusionment with the people of like, our government has failed us, our military has collapsed. And it's just like, how do we even begin to pick up the pieces? And as the country is starting at zero, you have Godzilla entering the fray, bringing it down into the negative, the -1. And it's one of the, I will say, it is probably one of the darkest Godzilla films out there, but I also think it's strangely one of the most optimistic because of the human element. This is so weird to say because most of the time you don't give a shit about this in a Godzilla film, but the human element is really good in this film. Kind of like the character it focuses on and like their group of like friends and family really ties together the emotional core of it of this film in such a good way. Um, I I don't want to spoil anything about it. It's just done super well, and it's funny that like in the Godzilla film, you are invested in the character story just as much as you're invested in seeing Godzilla tear things apart, to the point where you don't want Godzilla to tear things apart because you're ripping apart this family and these friends because of it. Um, so yeah, it's really good. The one thing I will say is the this is also probably one of the best musical tracks in a Godzilla film I've ever heard. Obviously, this is Toho. They have the classic Godzilla March theme with dun 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 dun. You have that theme. That is great, but they added in a basically a human equivalent theme is the best way I can describe it. And it's whenever the humans are like trying to come together to figure out how they're going to take down this impossible odds. It is my favorite track, and it's from this movie, and it's probably going to be the track that's going to be in my head for the rest of this year easily. Um, you will know when it plays. Trust
I'm
me on
looking
that.
forward to it.
Yeah, you will. So yes, Godzilla -1. Damn it, Drew. If we had like a best film like thing, this would be tough for me because it's like it's either somewhere with like Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, or Godzilla -1, and I really have no idea which one I would pick because this film is just that fucking good.
Yeah. Well, I promise you that it will be talked about on the podcast, but yeah, the film is kind of already. That's a different podcast being set up with different people other than myself, but very similar to what we did last year. Anyway, yeah, we'll definitely be checking it out. And God dang it, Randy, I need you to get down here sooner because I want to watch it now.
I know.
Just start driving. Just start
I
coming
have
this way.
work.
That sounds like a you problem. Anyway, but ultimately, I want to thank Seth. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for giving the Godzilla recommendation. More importantly, your music your music taste.
Anytime.
Yeah. And Randy, as always, thank you for joining and talking about Sleep Token amongst other bands.
Of course.
Yeah. And the most important people, as always, I want to thank you all, the listeners, if you have listened to this far. We appreciate you. Go check out our TikToks, our shorts, our other podcasts, like the one we kept mentioning, the Sleep Token one. But with that said, that is everything. Appreciate you all, and stay safe out there. Goodbye.